We begin today's newscast with the large airstrikes the IDF confirmed they carried out on Sanaa International Airport in Yemen today, targeting what they call the final remaining aircraft used by the Houthis. Defense Minister Israel Katz also confirms the attack, saying their major ports will also continue to be heavily struck. Plumes of smoke could be seen from neighborhoods outside the airport, with the IDF also saying the aircraft struck was used by the Houthis to transport terrorists who advanced terror attacks on Israel. According to Katz, the previous planes used by the Houthis were destroyed during strikes on the airport on May 6th. The Houthis have launched several ballistic missiles at Israel in recent days, with the IDF confirming they were successfully intercepted. And for the first time, Prime Minister Netanyahu gave final confirmation in Knesset today. Hamas chief Mohammed Sinwar was in fact eliminated on May 13th. A few weeks ago, Israel dropped several bombs on a tunnel under a hospital targeting Sinwar. Now, Mohammed Sinwar has been the leader of Hamas since his brother Yahya Sinwar was killed back in October. He was the mastermind behind October 7th. And today marks 600 days since Hamas terrorists launched an unprecedented and grotesque attack in southern Israel that sparked a major war that is still ongoing, holding more than 58 hostages still and causing immense suffering to their own people since October 7th. The IDF is moving forward with their Operation Gideon Swords in Gaza, even as U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff is pressing urgently for a hostage ceasefire deal. More from ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
600 days after the invasion and massacre, terror groups in Gaza are still holding 58 of the 251 abducted by Hamas-led terrorists. They include at least 35 confirmed dead and 20 who are believed to be alive. In recent weeks, the IDF has launched Operation Gideon's Chariots after a mediated ceasefire between Israel and Hamas ended in early March. Unless a new deal is reached by U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff in the coming days, the IDF will continue pushing forward with a plan to capture some 75% of Gaza while pushing the civilian population into designated safe zones. Israelis are gathering nationwide to mark the 600 days of warfare, with an emphasis on the need to return the remaining hostages. Israelis at different locations formed the yellow hostage symbol. They gathered in the shallow water of the sea near the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv with the numbers 58 and 600 and "Save them now" spelled out in the sand. Israel remembers that it was the Hamas attack that started the war. They also know that Hamas attempts to end the war and remain in power, and Israel's insistence on an end to Hamas rule are the main obstacles to a ceasefire deal. They also know that Hamas attempts to end the war and remain in power, and Israel's insistence on an end to Hamas rule are the main impediments to a ceasefire deal. The IDF is geared up for a major offensive with the entire standing army in Gaza and many reserve units on the way. 600 days of war and no clear end in sight.
Thank you, Steve, for that emotional report. And for the first time ever, Israel will begin revoking citizenship of convicted terrorists who are receiving payments from the Palestinian Authority. The announcement made by Defense Minister Katz and Coalition Whip Ophir Katz says 4 people are already in advanced stages of the deportation process. The amended law applies to Israeli citizens and permanent residents and can even be revoked if the person has no other citizenship. The joint statement says there are proceedings happening right now against hundreds of other convicted terrorists. Now, more than 400,000 meals were distributed by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, a new mechanism that's using armed American security contractors to secure and deliver aid at new distribution points in the Gaza Strip. Thousands of Gazans flocked to the brand new sites. Here's what else you need to know. Videos show thousands of people rushing to the new Gaza Humanitarian Aid Foundation distribution points in Rafah on Tuesday, after an 11-week blockade because Israeli officials say Hamas was controlling the aid inside of Gaza. The resumption of humanitarian aid has continued into its second week in the enclave. Video shows chaos erupting as thousands of people rushed the site as some Palestinians held boxes in their hands. Despite the disorder, Israeli officials say local residents did not loot the facility, but eyewitnesses and representatives from GHF confirmed remaining aid packages were taken during the distribution. According to Ynet, GHF security personnel fled the area and were evacuated because of the chaos, and the site was destroyed. It has also been reported an Israeli combat helicopter fired warning shots to disperse the crowd. The foundation says they distributed about 8,000 food boxes, equivalent to 462,000 meals for Gazans in need of food. Secured by the IDF but not distributed by them, the new mechanism by the foundation is backed by the United States and Israel. The foundation and Israel have said Hamas has tried to block civilians from reaching the aid distribution sites, as experts say the terror group sees the locations as a threat to their rule in the Gaza Strip. GHF is continuing to distribute aid today and preparing 3 other sites, 2 of them in southern Gaza and 1 in central. And consistent reports from Washington are indicating U.S. President Trump has cautioned Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu to avoid any steps that would undermine the Iran nuclear talks at a crucial juncture between Washington and Tehran. The Prime Minister's office is calling it, quote, fake news. ILTV's Steve Leibowitz has more.
White House officials reportedly told Axios that any steps taken by Israel at this time could jeopardize the talks, which Trump has more than hinted could reach a deal in the coming days. The New York Times is reporting that U.S. officials are concerned that Israel would carry out airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities without much warning. The report said that U.S. intelligence believes that Israel could make final attack preparations in as little as 7 hours, giving Trump very little time to pressure Netanyahu to change his mind. Mossad Chief David Barnea and Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer are reportedly in Washington for urgent talks on Iran's nuclear program. This morning, the PMO issued a statement denying that Israel intends to attack the Iranian sites in order to disrupt the potential U.S.-Iran nuclear deal and described the reports as fake news. According to quotes from an unnamed senior White House official, Trump told Netanyahu in a phone call this week that he wants to reach a diplomatic solution with Iran and he does not want anything to interfere with that.
Thanks, Steve, for that report. As we reach the grim milestone of 600 days since October 7th, war still rages in Gaza, and Israeli society remains divided on critical issues that are at the forefront of this war. Joining us now to discuss is Israeli journalist Ben-Dror Yamini. Thanks so much for being here today. So, like many of us, we've been covering this war for 600 days. You, of course, as well. Tell me how you reflect on a day like this, especially as a journalist. What have you learned covering this?
Okay, let me tell you something. We are speaking about 2 fronts, not 1 front. I mean, we are speaking a lot about the military front, which is vis-a-vis Hamas. And yes, Hamas is slowly, some people will say too slowly, they are defeated. I mean, they are much weaker right now comparing to what we faced in October 7. But there is another front, which is quite problematic. The international front, speaking about all the propaganda against Israel. Many of us ignore it, and they think that only what is happening in the military front is important. No, they're completely wrong. We are losing a lot of friends, maybe not because of the right reasons. Maybe we don't know how to present our case to the world. We have to remember just one thing, that unfortunately is not presented by Israeli officials. For example, wherever you have jihad, you have destruction and bloodshed. Nothing to do with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Wherever you have Muslim brothers, as the Arab world know, you have destruction and bloodshed. Just look what is happening in Africa, in the Sahel countries. Just look what's happening in Yemen. Wherever Iran interferes, it's the same. So nothing to do with Israel. Unfortunately, yes, Israel is the only Western country that is in the front line with the jihad. And so many people do not understand the bigger picture. But the bigger picture is that, yes, many innocent civilians are killed, and we are sorry about it. But this is the outcome of using women and children as human shields, as the officials of the Hamas declare. They say, we use them. And unfortunately, so many people in the world do not understand the real battle. And when they become part of the propaganda against Israel because of human lives, because of many other reasons, they do not understand that actually they help the jihad, that eventually will come to the West, or maybe already has a presence in the West.
Right, so the issue inside and also outside. But let's talk inside. Over the last 600 days, there's been immense divide in the Israeli society about what to do with the hostages, how and why this war should continue. Talk to me about how you can explain this divide to our viewers watching right now who might not be in Israel.
Look, what people do not understand many times, Israel is a democracy. And as a democracy, there are many views, and all the views are expressed. It's not that somebody is actually oppressing somebody from saying something. No, it's not the case. The case is that many of us are quite sorry about the situation with the hostages. I mean, it's too long. Most of them were released, as we know, but many of them were killed because of the continuation of the war. So the problem must be solved. And that's what the majority, according to all the polls, majority prefer right now even to stop the war in order to release the hostages. Because this is something which is highly important, human lives. It's something which is highly important for us Israelis. So maybe, you know what, maybe not all the military goals will be achieved, maybe not. But what we need is the release of all the hostages, something which is deeply in the very heart of the Israeli society.
Thank you so much for joining us. As we know, there are so many perspectives in Israel, and a lot of times mainstream media does not cover them. So thank you for your work in making sure those voices come to light.
Thank you for having me.
Israel Bonds, the heartbeat of solidarity, the powerhouse of support. When the Israeli-Hamas war hit, Israel Bonds stood tall, proving we're more than just an investment, we're a lifeline. Israel Bonds pledges to ensure Israel thrives and flourishes. Investing in Israel Bonds isn't just a financial move, it's a declaration for resilience, strength, and a better future for Israel. Join us and let solidarity echo through generations.
In Kansas City, a funeral was held for murdered Israeli staffer Sarah Milgram. At her hometown synagogue, mourners remembered Milgram for her dedication to Israel and the Jewish people, as well as a person who yearned for peace in the Middle East. There was a call to action in her memory, and it's been less than a week since she and her Israeli boyfriend, Yaron Lishinsky, were murdered outside the Jewish Museum in Washington by a left-wing gunman shouting, "Free Palestine." The gunman, Elia Rodriguez, remains in custody in what the FBI is calling a targeted act of terrorism.
We will carry your torch, Sarah. We will continue your mission. We will speak for those who cannot, and we will defend the truths that you upheld. It's not enough to simply say these things on the day that we bury you, dear Sarah. We already know that words are not enough. We must take action. We must uproot anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism from within our social circles, in our communities, in our schools, in the mainstream media, and in the corners of the internet, and even beyond. Together with Yaron's memory, we will continue your noble journey that you bravely walked. Both of you did not die in vain.
In the heart of Israel's Negev desert, a bold new vision is rising, one that reimagines Zionism in the 21st century. The Jewish National Fund, USA, is building a $350 million project in Beersheba, a world Zionist village designed to inspire, educate, and connect Jews and Israel supporters from around the globe. Let's take a look.
This beautiful park in Israel's desert city of Beersheba may look like an ordinary sight right now, but to those who've imagined it for years, the future is already taking shape.
But I want Israeli high school programs here, worldwide high school programs here. So there's expansion opportunity here as well.
The World Zionist Village is a visionary initiative by JNF USA that will span over 20 acres of land in the fast-growing city of Be'er Sheva. Once completed, it will house a state-of-the-art campus for the Alexander Muss High School in Israel, a venue for global leadership programs, a gap year program, Mechina preparatory programs for Israelis, a guest house for locals and tourists alike, and a permanent home for village talks featuring voices from across the Jewish world.
Jewish National Fund leading the way to bringing Zionists, Jews and non-Jews alike, people from Barcelona, Boston, from Be'er Sheva, from Tel Aviv and Kiryat Shimona, from everywhere, to come together in a place that, yes, is buildings for a new conversation. They are looking for a conversation about shared values and common destiny. And Zionism is the movement that has brought that about.
At a time when the very word Zionism is often distorted or politicized, this World Zionist Village will position itself as a home for open conversation, identity building, and unapologetic Jewish pride.
You cannot call Zionism anything that it is, but the right of our people to return to our ancestral soil. Now, there's a lot of isms in the world, and the only one that gets attacked is Zionism. Zionism is our belief. We're the only people on the face of the earth that have a land as part of our existence.
Well, I think we need to be proud of Israel and be proud of saying that we're Zionists. And even if there are people out there that don't like the term or they want to make life difficult for us, we need to pull together more than ever. If you go back 4,000 years, the Jews have always been persecuted, so it's nothing new.
Todd Patkin is a philanthropist from the United States. He has pledged $5 million to help bring this dream to life. For him, it's not just about concrete and classrooms, it's about connection.
There's so much anti-Semitism in the world today, and we really need to pull together as a group. You know, right now we've got Jews in Europe doing their thing, Jews in America doing their thing. To have something for the future where we can all come together, learn together, have dialogue together, I think is a wonderful thing.
How do you make a village its own, but still accessible community-wise?
The initiative is part of the Jewish National Fund USA's Blueprint Negev strategy, an ambitious effort to develop Israel's frontier regions and create new population centers outside the crowded center of the country.
You cannot have 80% of the population in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and Haifa. And the greatest frontier is the Negev, and Be'er Sheva is the capital of the Negev. So it gave us an opportunity as we created the change in Be'er Sheva for the Negev, but also Abraham Zuel and Be'er Sheva being right in the center. If you fold the map of Israel, the city that's right in the middle is called Be'er Sheva. So we're right in the middle of the land of Israel.
When you arrive, what you will see is the main view that what you saw over there with your pathway.
From high school students discovering their roots to adults engaging in lifelong learning, this village aims to become the beating heart of a new Zionist era.
I see 10 and 20 years down the line that you're going to have somebody coming on a seniors program for 3 months to work in the Bedouin community. You're going to find that a teenager, a college student, an Israeli retiree, and they're going to be sitting in our square, in the Zionist square. And they're going to share each other a conversation. And that conversation is going to continue the day after and the day after, all at the World Zionist Village.
It's one thing to imagine a future for the Jewish people. It's another to build it, right here in the desert, brick by brick, dream by dream.
And now, is anti-Semitism the biggest threat facing Jews today? ILTV's Mayan Hoffman has the results of a new global survey that reveals surprising answers. Let's take a look.
A new global report is sounding the alarm. Jews around the world say anti-Semitism is their #1 concern, surpassing even tensions with Israel. The 2025 Jewish Landscape Report was released today by Voice of the People, an initiative of Israeli President Isaac Herzog. The report found that 76% of Jews across all age groups and levels of observance believe anti-Semitism is the most pressing issue they face today. Respondents described facing hate speech, exclusion, and a growing fear of expressing their Jewish identity in public. Many said they felt vulnerable, isolated, and betrayed by the institutions they once trusted, especially since the October 7th Hamas massacre. Older generations, particularly baby boomers and the silent generation, expressed the greatest concern, some even drawing parallels to pre-Holocaust Europe. Generation X reported hiding their Jewish identity at work. Meanwhile, Gen Z and millennials pointed to harassment on college campuses and online. Anti-Semitism was felt most acutely in the Netherlands and Australia, the latter which has seen a sharp increase in incidents in the past year. The survey also highlighted other key issues: growing divides between Israel and the diaspora, deteriorating relations with non-Jewish communities, internal Jewish polarization, and concerns over preserving Jewish heritage. President Herzog said the report offers not only urgency, but hope. He praised the desire and determination of Jewish communities to take action and heal. The data is already being used to guide global working groups in developing real, practical solutions.
Thanks, Mayan, for that report. And today we have the privilege of hearing once again from Yael Eckstein, president of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. She shares with us a recap of some of the most important headlines from recent weeks. Let's take a look.
Shalom, my friends, from here in the Holy Land. I'm Yael Eckstein, and here are 3 things that you should know about Israel this week. Number 1, with a war update. There were 2 employees of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. who were murdered. They were murdered simply because they stand for Israel. This evil that we see, the anti-Semitism of hating Jewish people simply because they're Jewish, is not limited to a threat against the Jewish people. Now is the time that we have to stand together against this evil because it can't wait. Number 2, with some positive news. Earlier this week, we marked Yom Yerushalayim, Jerusalem Day. In Canada, we saw thousands of people line the street in support of Israel. Thousands of Jews and non-Jews, Christians, went out onto the street and stood proudly for Israel. That is the hope, and we need to continue yelling it as loud as we can. We stand with Israel. And number 3, with some fellowship updates. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, together with the Association for the Welfare of Holocaust Survivors, have come together in a special program where we send young volunteers to visit the homes of elderly Holocaust survivors. This year, on Memorial Day, we remembered many of these volunteers who were killed on October 7th. They were volunteers who came every week to visit these Holocaust survivors. They created a bond that was like family. Well, there you have it, friends. There are 3 things that you now know about Israel. Join me next week, same place, same time, for more updates on what's happening here in the Holy Land. Shalom.
And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Cloudy skies are expected around most of the country tonight, with temperatures reaching lows of 18 degrees Celsius or 63 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow, we'll see sunny skies alongside hot temperatures, seeing highs of 27 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a wrap for today's show. For the latest updates from Israel on all of your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channels, subscribe to our newsletter, and explore our website, ILTV.tv. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I'm Shosh Bedrosian. Thanks so much for joining us.